Hi, I'm Ryan Davis.
And I'm Kiernan Schmidt.
And this is Out of Office, a travel podcast.
How are you this week, Ryan?
I'm doing really well. How are you?
Oh, you're looking fantastic.
Yeah, I got a little gray coming in my beard. It's giving me sort of like a Game of Thrones vibe.
It's funny you say that because I'm almost going to Iceland. I'm about to leave to go to Iceland, which I think is where a bunch of Game of Thrones is shot. I don't watch Game of Thrones. I don't
Pretty sure
know.
none of it is shot in Iceland.
Oh, brother, really?
Yeah, I think it's
don't they have a lot of fire and ice stuff?
Yeah, but that's all shot in Ireland and Scotland. I don't think it's shot in
Some of
Iceland.
it's definitely shot in Croatia. I know that for sure.
But that is not Iceland. You're gonna be very surprised when you show up in Iceland and it's not Croatia.
All right, Ryan. It feels like we jumped way too fast into the meaty part of the episode. Today we are talking money matters. How to make sure that you always have enough currency in your pocket to do everything you want to do when you're traveling. But first, before we take off, I do feel like we still haven't found that tagline that's going to just bring this podcast to life, make it feel real, you know?
And you've been working on this over the last week?
Well, we both have. So
yeah.
I pitched a bunch of winners. You shot them all down for various and sundry reasons. And then you neglected to do any work and quickly Googled answers to the test and failed.
I think there were some good ones in there, but yeah.
Yeah. And so this week it is my week on the quest for a tagline. So I've got 3 here. Again, you're going to pretend to be the client. I'm gonna pitch to you. You know, and I'm going to try to acknowledge the strengths and the weaknesses of the various taglines. Are you ready?
I am so ready for this.
All right. So sit back, relax. You've just put in your earphones, clicked on, brand new Out of Office. Super excited. Click on that. You say, hi, I'm Ryan Davis. I'm Kiernan Schmidt, and this is Out of Office, a travel podcast. This seat taken?
Oh.
Yeah. It's
wow.
a little sexy, right?
Wow, I like that. Yeah.
Out of Office, a travel podcast. This seat taken?
I don't know if you should say it like that.
Oh,
that
I
seems
would like
a little...
to say it in a much deeper voice.
Yeah.
This seat taken? Of course, I have found when I'm on trains and planes now, people always have earphones in, so you'll have to reach over and pop the earbud out and say, this seat taken.
People love it when their personal space is violated in that way when they travel.
It sounds like you're taking this as a maybe.
I sort of like it, yeah.
Oh my God. You're ruining the game.
I'm taken aback by how much.
I'm going to put this in the maybe pile. Yeah. I'm thrilled. I mean, just to acknowledge the weaknesses, it doesn't really say much.
No. It doesn't work in every situation, but
I do think that it gives sort of a sultry edge to what could seem like kind of a light popcorn show.
Totally. I think when we do our episodes on being a traveling swinger, we should definitely.
I know what's a swinger.
You can Google that. I'll send you some links. Actually, don't Google it. Don't Google it.
All right. Well, I've got 2 more here, but if you feel like that's definitely the winner, I mean.
Well, no. I want to hear all the options.
Okay. Out of Office, a travel podcast. Know better, book better, go better.
Oof. I mean, that's really bad. Yeah.
I'm thrilled that you said that because, as it happens, that's TripAdvisor's actual slogan.
I was about to say that sounds like something that would be on TripAdvisor.
So that means that an actual advertising agency of some sort got paid, I would assume hundreds of thousands of dollars.
Yeah.
To come up with know better, book better, go better. More like write slogans better, am I right?
Yeah. Which isn't even a proper description of TripAdvisor from what I can tell.
No, it definitely isn't know better.
It is the opposite of know better. Yeah.
Nor is it book better.
I guess you can book on TripAdvisor. I've never done that.
I feel like that's more booking.com or Expedia or Kayak. I definitely don't think of TripAdvisor.
Yeah, we're not getting paid for any of those companies, so don't visit them.
Well, not yet, but if it's way in the future and they love us, today we think they are wonderful companies.
Exactly.
I actually I will defend the TripAdvisor logo. I like the owl with the 2 different eyes.
You like owls. We've talked about
generally speaking, I like
big birds and owls are,
Yeah, I love birds. All right, so we're going to cross that off.
We can't use that.
I was actually really nervous you would like that, and I'd have to break it to you. All right, one more. Are you ready?
Ready.
Out of Office, a travel podcast. Explore more.
Explore more.
Explore more. Or Explomo.
More explore? Explore more.
Explomo.
I don't know.
I mean, that could mean explode more.
Yeah.
So that's probably the danger. I know you wanted to say, what did
I
you
just
want?
I just don't think it's great, to be honest with you.
Yeah, it was really more about the rhyme. Rhymes are very charming.
Yeah.
But this kind of feels like a good line for TripAdvisor.
Explore more is better than what they have. You should send that in.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I'll send it into marketing at TripAdvisor. Surely they're still at a .net.
Yeah.
Looking
.net.
at their website. All right. Well, listen, this seat taken is officially in the running.
In the running. If you like the seat taken, make sure you reach out to us and let us know because
reach out to Ryan. I'm good. Thanks. All right. Well, I think it's probably time to take off.
Let's take off.
Flight attendants, prepare for takeoff, please.
So today's topic is making sure you've got enough money in your pocket when you travel. Now, this seems sort of like an obvious point, but I think both of us have had situations where we didn't think through the kind of cash we were bringing with us.
Yeah, I feel like nowadays I go in knowing, okay, you really have to be careful about measuring out how much money is in your wallet. Are there ATMs available? Am I going to a place that takes credit cards? Because I've definitely been stuck in places where I've pissed people off or I just didn't have money to do what I wanted. And this episode came to mind because I was reading this New York Times travel article. Got to be we both said we're both fans of this publication and their travel journalism, but they had an article called 5 Things to Leave at Home on Your Next Trip. And number 3 was a fistful of dollars. You don't need to bring cash. ATMs are everywhere.
That doesn't seem to be true in my experience.
It's absolutely not true. And I think that, one thing that just off the top is you got to research, are there ATMs where you're going?
Yeah, I can see somebody reading this article, jumping on a plane to Havana and being very disappointed when they arrive.
I have not been to Havana, so tell me, what's the deal there? Do they use American dollars?
No, they use a Cuban currency, a CUC, a cuck, and basically
cuck?
It's $1 for.
I like to consider myself a bit of a cuck.
It's $1 for one of these currencies, and you have to bring actually cash because American banks don't have any ATMs there. So if you don't bring enough cash with you, you're pretty out of luck.
And I feel like too, stuff's really expensive in Cuba.
Yeah, I mean, shockingly expensive, especially like little things like we bought some sunscreen and it was like $42.
You are very large and pale, so I can see you actually, even in the States, it would be $38. I mean...
Oh, but it's very important to bring sunscreen with you if you travel to Havana. That should be on your list.
So how much cash if you're going to a place where you know there are ATMs, do you still bring cash or do you leave it at home as that article suggests?
I bring a little cash because you never know.
Yeah, I agree. I bring a little cash as well. Usually I make sure I have about $200.
Yeah, and when I landed in Havana, I was able to use American dollars to pay for my taxi to the hotel. And then once I got to the hotel, I exchanged there for Cuban currency.
Usually, traveling abroad, I will use the ATM at the airport. Because I do think, ATMs, you get a much better exchange rate than you will at one of those cash exchange places, which are total scams. But also, you can pretty reliably plan on ATMs being at airports because they expect people to need currency.
Right, exactly. I mean, except for a handful of places where we know that they're not. Like most often, you can get a cash at the airport.
Yeah, and I think that this is, even if there are ATMs where you're going, if you're taking a side trip into a place that's further off, you cannot depend on the fact that ATMs or credit cards will be taken there.
Exactly. Yeah, especially if you get out of a big city.
And I was in a very unfortunate episode that still haunts me, which is Catherine and I were in Guatemala, and we had gone to Tikal National Park. I don't know if you know it, but it's a flight out of Guatemala City, and there are no ATMs anywhere nearby. And we had taken for granted that there probably would be. And it's renowned for birding and bird watching, and there was a bird tour that I really wanted to do, and we weren't able to do it, and we had to go zip lining instead because that was the amount of cash that we had, and I really hated that our activity was dictated not by our interests, but by how much cash we had on hand.
Yeah, no, I remember the last night I was in Havana. I had only brought, a certain amount of money with me because I thought things would be more reasonable. And so I was down to like $45 or something, and I knew that we had to save $20 for the taxi to the airport the next day.
Mm-hmm.
So we were had that last $25, and we couldn't spend. Had a budget evening. So
what'd you have for dinner?
some kind of meat on a stick. I don't really remember. It wasn't.
That's not so bad.
No, it was fine. Yeah, but we wanted to rent like an old timey car and drive around, but we didn't have enough cash. So
no.
What are you gonna do?
Yeah. All right. And I also think that it's important to keep cash or an extra credit card separate from your wallet for fear that the wallet gets taken.
100%. I always have a separate credit card hidden in my luggage somewhere.
Though I have found that a lot of travel books and travel guides are a little too loose with saying that there are pickpockets like everywhere.
Yeah, I mean, if you read the travel, if you believe everything you read in the travel guides, Europe is just full of pickpockets everywhere you go.
It's like Oliver Twist and Roma, and they're all out to get you.
Exactly.
And every pocket you have cannot be secured in any secure way.
Yeah, and if you read a book that was written more than 10 years ago, they use words besides Roma to describe folks, which is really kind of off-putting. You're like,
I'm
whoa.
glad you caught that. I was very respectful there.
Yeah.
But then again, I mean, we've had TV shows in America called like My Big Fat Gypsy Wedding, right? Wasn't that a thing?
I don't watch that kind of TV. I don't know.
Hold on.
I thought it was Greek wedding. I don't know.
I quickly look and make sure I wasn't wrong on that. And Google says Big Fat Gypsy Weddings, a British documentary. British documentary.
The British are in a different place than we are, I think, in these conversations.
Why? It's because all those Oliver Twist pickpockets they've still got. So you mentioned that you had planned in Cuba just the right amount to get from your hotel to the airport, right?
Yeah, I had to keep that 20 just for that trip.
Yeah, so that was last year, actually almost exactly a year ago. Catherine and I were in Morocco, and I had asked around. We were in Casablanca. We had to get to the airport. It was on our way home, so we were like running low on cash. And, I didn't want to go to the ATM and take out too much cash because then you come home and you have all this extra money and you're like, when am I going to Morocco again? Probably not soon. And so I had asked 3 different people the amount that it would cost from the hotel to the airport. I asked the guy who opens and closes the door at the hotel. I had asked the concierge, and I asked the cab driver before we got in the cab. And I had to the penny the exact amount that we needed.
Why wouldn't you have a few extra dollars? Why did you want to cut it so close?
I didn't want to cut it close. I mean, that's like sort of the theme of the episode is don't cut it close.
It's true. That's a better title.
I mean, really,
actually.
it's cut it close because you want to cut it close. You don't want way too much. I mean, I got like a drawer just full of like currency I'm never going to use.
Yeah.
But so we get in the cab. I mean, obviously, you can tell where this is going. We drive to the airport, and of course, the driver turns around and says that it is, 10 beyond what I have. And I said to him, and he doesn't speak English. And I said, I don't have that because when we got in the cab, you said it was this. And I hold up the money and he gets out the word toll. There was a toll on the way that all 3 of the people had neglected.
Right.
And so, of course, I look like the idiot asshole American, which I hate looking like. I mean, I go so far out of my way to be humble, salt of the earth. I'm here to learn. Please accept me in your culture.
So you're like throwing your Amex at this guy? Like what happened at the end?
Well, obviously, no. I gave him what he had quoted me before I got in the cab. I had no other choice. I literally had no other money. He couldn't accept credit cards, and there were no ATMs in the passenger area of the airport.
And never take a cab with Kiernan. Is the moral of this story.
I know. So now I really can never go back to Morocco.
No, they know you.
But you know what? I don't have
all
any
the cabbies have your picture and. Do not take this man.
Yeah, I don't know. I felt like a real asshole, and I still think about it to today. But I have to say, I don't really feel like it was my fault. I asked 3 different people. 3 different people neglected to tell me about that toll.
And had you listened to this episode, you would have had extra cash with you.
I would have cut it close, but I would have had a little extra in my pocket. Yes.
I am famous for losing my ATM card. when I travel internationally.
Really?
I used to lose my ATM card at the beginning of every trip.
That's a great time to lose it.
Yeah, well, sometimes, if you put your ATM card in, they'll give you the money, and then they'll give you the card. And then sometimes they'll give you the card, and then they'll give you the money. Well, the proper way to do this, clearly, is to give you the card and give you the money, because no one's leaving an
Without
ATM
the cash.
without the cash.
Yeah.
But once you get the cash, you're like out of there. You're like, I got this cash. I am,
Especially if you believe all the pickpocket material. You got to hide that
Exactly.
cash as fast as you can.
So I've left ATM cards in ATMs in both Costa Rica and Mexico City. And I've had to be one of those jerks on Twitter where I've tweeted at Bank of America and been like, please overnight me a card,
And will they do that?
Yeah. Yes. If you're at like a hotel and, you have a couple days, they can get your card pretty quickly. They got me one in Costa Rica really quickly.
Huh. Wow. Even in Costa Rica, I would have thought in Mexico City it'd be easier.
In Mexico City, they just didn't really help me out much, actually. But in Costa Rica, they
So how
seemed
did
to
that resolve itself?
I just had to take money out of like credit card, which is a very bad financial thing to do. And
Wait, why is that a bad financial thing to do? As long as you pay it?
take a cash advance? I don't know. It's just,
Okay, actually, I know
Yeah.
nothing about that.
Yeah.
But I've noticed if you put a credit card into an ATM, a really scary message comes up everywhere that says that it's wrong. Why?
Yeah, you shouldn't do
what
that.
does it mean?
Because they charge you a big fee to take cash out on your card.
But does it like ding your credit? Does it like
No,
make
I don't think
you,
it dings your credit.
I feel like it makes you look like a bad person
It
somehow.
definitely makes you feel like a bad person.
But it does. That's why I've never done it. I
Yeah.
have literally ejected the card and backed away from the machine.
Yeah, I mean, there's no reason to do it if you actually have your debit card. So, and you have cash, I guess, in that account. Yeah.
Now, what do you feel about if you're in a place where credit card machines are abundant everywhere you go, the hotel, everyone tends to use it. Will you actually take out cash in that place?
Yeah, I find it easy to carry around cash for things like street food and
Yeah.
like grabbing a beer or something you don't want to always use a card.
Yeah, I agree. I will always take out a little bit of the local currency because I want to have the freedom to, if I want to tip somebody a small amount or even a large amount. If I'm feeling, like I want to be the generous American.
To make up for, all the cab drivers.
All the cab drivers I've accidentally screwed over.
Yeah.
Even though I still feel like it was his fault. Another thing to consider is even if you know that there are ATMs where you're going, you have to find out, are there any finicky local customs or rules that you might not know about those ATMs? Example for me was I went to go to a town in Peru. There was tons of ATMs, all of which were empty because apparently on payday, all the locals go and take out huge amounts of cash for their weekends and for the week. And so by the time lowly little tourist gets there, they're devoid of cash.
Yeah, and I've had similar things happen where an ATM will be closed. Like after 10 o'clock at night, it just, the door that's supposed to open to the ATM will just no longer be functional, and there's just no cash until the morning.
I actually think that might be because of how you look. The security camera going, keep that door locked. This unsavory character out there.
Yeah, I mean, who knows how crazy I looked that night because it was pretty late, but
There's gray in his beard.
I didn't have any gray in my beard yet then.
Nowadays.
Speaking of the last stop.
You know what you must... Well, I mean, from an option that I feel like is open is maybe you could start pickpocketing if that happens.
I would have a good Fagin sort of look,
You do have a real Fagin vibe about you. But for reasons beyond just the look, Ryan.
Thank you so much.
You got to pick a pocket or two, boys. You got to pick a pocket or two. I will say the strangest currency situation I have had was Catherine and I went to Myanmar. And there, because there's been such political upheaval for so long, they will only exchange perfectly crisp U.S. currency.
Right, like beautiful, freshly printed.
Beautiful. So you can't, Andrew Jackson with that ugly face, they won't take that. It's got to be, Chris Ben Franklin,
Right.
somebody who has a certain je ne sais quoi. Somebody who might turn to you and say, "The seat taken?"
So you've got to go there with basically a suitcase full of bank money?
Yeah, you have to go. So first, you really have to go to the bank in the U.S. and ask, can I have brand new bills? Because I'm telling you, the slightest tear, the slightest fold, they just
That's not
hand it back to
suspicious
you.
at all when you go to the bank and you're like, look, I need some beautiful
Fresh
bills.
large denominations,
Not in
fill
sequential
this
order.
suitcase,
Yeah.
and I have a gun in my pocket.
Right.
And so the way that I had to do it, because you can't fold it and put it in your wallet, and if you put it in your suitcase, it might get crushed by everything else. So
Right.
I had to take
or stolen if you're checking your suitcase.
Yeah, that's true. Again, all those pickpockets, they know. I had to bring a hardcover book, and in which I had placed single bills in each page, closed it gently, and then ever so slightly found just the right size rubber band to preserve it.
Was this like the Schmidt family Bible that you were traveling with?
No. I mean, I always travel with that, but I would never besmirch God's word with dirty currency.
No, you said it was clean, beautiful currency. So,
I mean, as you know, as the scripture says, it is harder for a rich man to enter heaven than for a camel to pass through the eye of a needle.
I also went to Catholic school, Kiernan.
I went to public school. How dare you? But I also went to catechism afterwards. Actually, interesting story about that. I had one teacher. He was so anti-abortion, he would carry around his pocket a little model of a baby's fetus, of a fetus,
A baby's fetus.
of a baby's fetus, not a goat fetus, of a fetus, and
a human child.
Anytime we would talk about life, he would take it out of his pocket, and he would say, "This is what you looked like at 1 month old." And but that means that most of the day he's walking around with a fetus model in his pocket.
Right.
But anyway, even with that currency plan, they still rejected some of my bills for scars that I couldn't even make out.
I've never been the kind of person to turn down money because it doesn't look great.
No,
you know?
no. Trust me. I recently was at a diner with you where you said I had to take the subway here. Can't you please pay?
Yeah, well, that's
the main tips that we are basically saying is 1. Estimate out how much money you're likely to need, whether from a credit card, from an ATM, and make sure you have far above that, meaning go with currency from the U.S. before you get on the plane, have a backup credit card somewhere separate from your wallet so that if, bad things happen, if a pickpocket, so much pickpocket talk, if you drop your wallet on the train, you are not up a creek without a paddle. And do an abundant amount of research before you go to figure out the local customs, whether ATMs and credit card machines are going to be available, or are there unexpected things like, oh, there is a local currency, but really you're going to need US dollars while you're here. So I guess probably the biggest takeaway is don't listen to 5 Things to Leave at Home, written by Jeffrey Morrison of the New York Times. You should bring that fistful of dollars.
We should have Jeffrey Morrison on the pod to defend that article.
You know what? When we figure out how to do a call-in interview, I agree with you. Hear that, Jeffrey Morrison?
Time for the last stop.
Will you tweet Jeffrey Morrison to let him know we're coming for him?
I most definitely will.
Fantastic. However, can I just say, on the nicer side, I really agree with him that you shouldn't be packing a hairdryer. Every hotel has a hairdryer, and worst comes to worst, go outside, your hair will naturally dry.
Yeah, and even Airbnbs will tell you if they have a hairdryer there. So you should be set if you need a hairdryer.
Yeah, so Jeffrey Morrison, you got some stuff right. We don't need to pack hairdryers, but I got you on the cash point. All right, I think that it's time for the last stop.
The last stop.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is the last stop on this train. Everyone, please leave the train.
The last stop is the segment where Ryan and I each discuss one thing we've done, seen, read, smelt, tasted that feeds our wanderlust, that makes us feel like we are, travelers at heart. What's keeping the spirit of a travel alive for us? The spirit of a travel. See, I'm even doing a little Italian accent just to feel like traveling is alive. So, Ryan, what is your last stop this week?
Well, Kiernan, I went to Tampa to spend some time over the weekend with my friend Aaron and his family. And we did
Scenic Tampa.
Scenic Tampa. So we did 2 things that were sort of interesting. The first was we went to this place called Lettuce Lake Park. And this is
If I had to name a lake after one vegetable,
lettuce is it's very juicy.
so if I that juicy lettuce, so juicy.
Can you just picture it gleaming? But this is a sort of interesting natural park that you would enjoy because it basically they built these boardwalks through these sort of wetlands, and so you can see alligators and you can see all this sort of wildlife, and it's incredibly sort of beautiful and natural and large. You can get lost in these boardwalks that sort of go out into the
Can't you
woods.
Just follow the boardwalk?
Yeah, you can go. I mean, getting lost was a metaphor.
Okay. Oh, all right.
If you're getting lost, it's only like 3 directions, so you're not a terribly bright person. But and then there's this really cool observation tower that you can climb up to and get a great view of this park and the Florida wetlands. So I was pleasantly surprised how much I enjoyed it.
Did the alligators seem at all threatening?
No, because you're sort of 4 feet up from them, and they just seem sort of lazy. They sort of lay around. This one was sort of trying to eat like a leaf for like 10 minutes. Everybody gathered around. It was very exciting.
Are you sure it wasn't lettuce?
No, Lettuce Lake does not. I did not see any lettuce.
Can I just say I knew you were going to Lettuce Lake. I'm very jealous, and I really tried to track down why it's called Lettuce Lake. I could not find it.
You couldn't find why it was called Lettuce Lake?
And then I just kept coming upon recipes for delicious, juicy lettuce, and I ended up making a delicious salad for myself, and I lost track of the search.
Well, if any of my Air Tampa listeners know why it's called Lettuce Lake, they should definitely reach out to us.
Absolutely, reach out to Ryan. I'm good.
Yeah. Also went to the Henry B. Plant Museum. So Henry Plant was this guy who brought the railroad to Tampa. So, important guy. And he built this astonishing hotel called the Tampa Bay Hotel, which has been taken over half by this museum of sort of historic Tampa and the other half from Tampa University. So it's like half a student life building and half this museum. And the building itself is incredibly beautiful, although the bulk of it is used by the school, so you can't really wander around. But I
like the mixed use idea.
Yeah.
You went in the museum, right?
Yes.
What is Tampa's history? What's in the Tampa History Museum?
A lot about this guy, Henry Plant, and how he built this railroad and he built a couple
railroad
hotels.
Spikes?
No, I mean it's to tell you the truth, the museum is not great, and what I would recommend is going to look at the building and kind of walking around the grounds. No need to go inside, really. You can sort of read about Henry Plant.
Was there even one artifact that you remember that you said, "Now that's good. That was worth the price of admission"? Like a model train? Is there anything?
I wish there was a model train. No, I mean it sort of feels like an old hotel when you're walking around.
Well, that's because it's an old hotel.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And there were some neat Teddy Roosevelt related things because the Rough Riders kind of went down to Tampa once. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
What Teddy Roosevelt related things were there?
A couple pictures of him and some front pages of newspapers that say the Rough Riders are coming to town. Although it was really unclear if the actual Rough Riders came with Teddy or if Teddy was like too old at that point and just sort of like, sent them, dispatched the Rough Riders.
Oh, you mean whether Teddy was actually with them or not?
Yeah, I have no idea if Teddy went to Tampa. The fact they didn't say that he was there makes me think he was all, it was it was like a tour, like a non-union Teddy tour.
Well, actually, I feel like this is a good segue into what I did discover when I was doing some research on Lettuce Lake, that fruitless search, which is I came upon Florida's official slogan. Do you know of Florida's official travel slogan?
No, I do not. The Sunshine State or something like that?
I think it is called the Sunshine State, but that's not the slogan. The slogan is, Florida, the future is here. So maybe they know, our museums, our history museums aren't doing that great. Let's look to the future. In the future, we're going to have some interesting happen. Like, for example, when climate change comes and the whole state's underwater, the future is here. Because, terrible hurricanes are happening now. The future's here.
That is a very strange slogan for Florida. Because when you think of Florida, you think of like retired New Yorkers.
Elderly people, yeah.
You don't think certainly not the future.
Maybe the future was here. The past is here.
Yeah. People who attended the World Expo in 1950 are here.
Goodness. All right. My last stop this week. All right. This is a weird one. Are you ready?
Yes.
It's really weird.
I'm scared a little
Okay.
bit. Okay.
So Rancho Gordo Beans is a small company that sells dried beans. Okay.
Right.
But their whole thing is that they go out into the world and they try to find interesting, rare breeds of beans, mostly sold
Like
throughout.
pinto beans?
Yeah, I mean, pinto beans is one type of bean, yes. but I'm talking about a plethora of beans. So basically, they go out and they court small farmers way off the beaten path, and they discover beans that aren't commercially available at large. And they say to them, if you will grow extra harvests of these beans, we will dry them, we will sell them to Americans who are willing to pay for heirloom beans, okay?
Right.
But what's great about it is that they specialize in beans from all over the world, rare beans. And now here's the real humdinger. You're going to be really jealous when I tell you about this. You ready?
I'm ready.
There's a thing called the Rancho Gordo Bean Club. And guess what? You're talking to a member.
That's a pretty exclusive club.
It's a very exclusive club. I know that you're joking and judging. You're joking and judging, but it is an exclusive club. It had a wait list that was hundreds of people long, and I put myself on it, and I got off of it. And now, 4 times a year, they charge me $60, and I get an email regularly every 3 months, and it says your Rancho Gordo box is on the way, and it shows up at my doorstep. It's like Christmas, and I tear it open, and inside I have 6 international dried beans, a variety pack. I never know what they're going to be, and a secret ingredient. Now, this really feeds my wanderlust. I mean, this is like maybe my best last stop, maybe ever. Maybe we should retire the segment at this point because I'm looking at beans from Europe. I'm looking at beans from Mexico. They got a couple that they take and they grow in Napa, California. I mean, I feel like I'm doing a bean road trip, and I'm rocking out to bean-themed hits in the car.
What's a bean-themed hit?
I knew you're going to ask that. I would say probably the Black Eyed Peas, right? Yeah. Oh, thank God this week they had Black Eyed Peas. Otherwise, I really would have struggled to come up with that. And the Rancho Gordo secret ingredient was nothing other than Mexican oregano. Not just oregano,
Wow.
Mexican oregano. I will say I gave it a smell. Smells a lot like regular oregano,
Got a
but
little jalapeno in there.
I feel like I'm going down old Mexican way.
Well, I am. You're going to have to cook some beans for me sometime.
One thing that I do super appreciate that they put in this time, they put in as I said, a Black Eyed Peas. They're called Super Lucky 2019 because this is a New Orleans tradition. You make and eat Black Eyed Peas for good luck on New Year's Day.
We did the same thing in my family. My mom always
You're
cooked
from the
Black Eyed
South, right?
Yeah, kind of.
Southern Maryland.
Southern Maryland. Yeah.
Are you below the Mason-Dixon line?
I am many miles below, like 10 miles.
It counts. That counts.
No, it definitely counts.
You are responsible for all the sins of the South. And to all our Southern listeners, thanks for coming around.
So, how many varieties of beans do you think there are in the world?
I mean, that's like asking, how many beautiful babies are there in the world? I mean, there's endless amounts of beautiful babies. There's endless amounts of beautiful beans.
Well, according to Wikipedia, my number one source for bean-related information, there are 40,000 bean varieties. 40,000.
Listen,
that's a lot of months, Kiernan.
That's a lot. Well, you figure 6 every. Yeah, that's well, God, I hope Rancho Gordo holds on. So, for all of you who aren't lucky enough to go to be in the Bean Club, go sign up at ranchogordo.com. Tell them Kiernan sent you. Nobody's going to ask. You don't have to tell them that. All right. Well, Ryan, I think it's probably time to wrap it up. Listen, next time we got a great episode. We're going to talk about passports. Why are passports still around?
All right. Until next week, I'm Ryan Davis.
And I'm Kiernan Schmidt.
And we are out of office.
This seat taken.